we've heard from every member of this committee. We've heard, I'm sure everyone has seen various social media posts, interviews on various news outlets. Everyone has an opinion on this bill. And in my opinion, the great majority of those with a strong opinion on this bill have opinions that are rooted in emotion. There are so many people here today. There have been so many people here over the last several months, and almost all of them are emotional about the issue. We're listening to chants in the hallway now. We've seen people have prayer circles in the rotunda. We've seen people camping out, standing outside of various offices, in the parking lot, wherever they feel as though they can gain access to someone with a voting right where they can make their opinion heard. And I understand that. I understand that completely. I think that there are some people who have a voting right who take this issue emotionally. I think it's almost impossible to discuss it with anyone. It's very difficult, and I've had to do it over the last several months more times than I've wanted to discuss it with somebody who does not agree with my position. Reasonable minds can differ, and I respect the fact that I have colleagues here that I work with every single day that have different opinions than I have. That's the purpose of the process that we have. That's why we're here. That's why we listened to 13 hours of testimony until I believe it was 6:15 in the morning a few months ago. Everyone should be able to say their piece, and everyone should have the opportunity to be heard, and I think we did that. I think that we've tried as hard as we can to have reasonable and sensible discussions amongst ourselves as to how we can move forward. The reality is this issue is not going away. There are so many things that I agree with that my colleagues have said, and there are many things that I disagree with. And I think it's my job sitting in this seat every single Tuesday and Thursday between January and July to move people along. So I'm going to do my best not to belabor this for the next 2 hours, because I think I could talk as long as anyone else did about how I feel and what I think and what I believe should happen. What I will say is reasonable minds can differ, but we do need to work together, and we do need to find a solution. When Senator Lombardi indicated that he and I haven't really discussed the merits of the bill, we talked about that this morning while we were in family court on an extremely emotionally charged case where we were on somewhat opposite sides of. We have every ability in that arena to fight with one another and argue with one another and do what we need to do and move on, because it's our job. And we have the obligation to do the same exact thing here. The reason he and I haven't had long discussions about this bill is that I know very clearly where he stands, and he knows very clearly where I stand, and we respect one another enough to know that we're not going to change each other's mind. So there's no need for us to get into a long, drawn-out debate about why he's wrong and I'm right, which I can say because he already spoke. So what I want everyone to leave here with today is that we did work on this bill, and we worked on it tirelessly. The sponsor has worked tirelessly on this bill. The advocates have worked tirelessly on this bill. There is a feeling, a very clear feeling, I think, amongst a lot of different people that this was all or nothing. One of the things that bothers me more than anything is that this is a bill that was amended in the House and was sent to the Senate. I was not included on negotiations when that happened, and I don't believe that any of the other leadership were included in negotiations. And we received a bill, and we were told, vote it now, no amendments. And that's not the way that this process works. And the purpose of the amendments that we were looking to make were amendments that would make the bill better, but would make it something that was worth voting for. I started my remarks by saying I don't believe this issue is going to go away, and I think that we need to pass the right bill. There is no doubt, and as I look out here, it's very clear as to who is on what side of this issue. But the reality is our responsibility is to go into the gray area. We need to figure out what that language is that works. And while everyone can sit here and say, are we codifying Roe versus Wade or aren't we? The reality is we have to deal with every other piece of case law that's come down after that. What we need to do here is codify the law as it currently stands. And what people keep saying is that we have a status quo. In order to maintain the status quo, what we need to do is put into law what we have now. What can a doctor do now? What access does a woman have to health care now? I am not looking to change that, and I'm not looking to expand that. And I want to say very clearly that the last thing that I want to do is to have a person a woman go into her doctor's office at 8 or 9 months and say that she wants to terminate a pregnancy for no real reason. We had so many doctors come here and testify that that is just not the truth, and that is not reality. We were given numbers as to how many abortions were performed in the state of Rhode Island. We were giving numbers as to how many of those abortions were performed post-viability. This is not a case where we are trying to open the floodgates, and as Senator Oyer said at the beginning, and Senator Coyne said, being pro-choice doesn't necessarily make you pro-abortion. What I am looking to do, and what I believe my colleagues who are in support of this bill are looking to do, is preserve a woman's access to safe and legal abortion, and that is safe and legal health care. With that having been said, again, I could go on and on and on, and I will spare all of you that. But the last point that I want to make is that this is not something that has been rushed. There has been a suggestion, what's the hurry? We have been discussing and debating this bill for years, but I would say very intensely for the last 3 years at least. It is very clear to me that the national landscape has changed and is changing. Justice Breyer, in a dissent, I believe it was today or yesterday, made it very clear that he has concerns about cases that are going to be overturned consistently. It seemed as though he was giving us advance warning that he is concerned about what is happening with this court. Never before November of 2016 did I campaign and have to answer questions about how I felt about abortion or whether I was pro-life or pro-choice. I quite frankly answered that it's not a state issue, it's a national issue, and we have a law that is going to cover us and we're okay. I, as a 43, almost 44-year-old woman, still have a grave concern that this could somehow affect me in life. There are a lot of people in this room that it will not affect. It could affect me. I want to know what we're doing. I want to know what my rights are or what I would have access to. Does that mean I would ever actually have an abortion? I don't probably think that I could, but I could never say never, and I don't think that it's my responsibility to make that decision for every other person who's of childbearing years. So that is why an issue that I have never wanted to know a lot about or never wanted to be an expert on, I have spent the last 5 months doing nothing but reading, nothing but talking, nothing but greeting people sitting outside my office asking me if there's any change. We need, in my opinion, to codify the law as it stands, and that's why I will be supporting this bill today.